How's it going, everyone? We're back with another weekly watch list. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you do enjoy this type of content, day trading, swing trading, levels and zones, all those things, futures trading, please consider dropping a like, a comment on the video, subscribing to my channel. It would mean the absolute world to me. But without further ado, let's hop right into it. So we'll kick things off with NQ. Clearly we had a 2,000 point move down from Wednesday's high. So we got a lot of levels here, a lot of space. Honestly, when market moves like this, I really like to give it the first trading day after to maybe make some fresh levels and zones. But we'll go over what I do have. So previous day range is obviously very large. So previous day high all the way up here. We do have some pivot zones along the way that I'll be watching. So as long as we remain underneath the PDL, I'll be watching downside down to 28,662 to 28,540. If we do make a move up, again, I'll be watching calls over these levels and pivot zones and EMAs back to the previous day high. So if we reclaim this pivot, I'll watch calls up to the next pivot. If we reclaim this pivot, I'll watch calls up to the previous day high. It's very, very simple, right? Let me see if we do have like daily supply here. No, not on NQ. But, I want to see, we're approaching this daily demand where we already bounced out of once. Maybe we come down, we retest this, we move back up to the highs. So we'll see. I'm not going to try to predict. I'm just going to have my levels and zones. If we continue weakness, my next areas of support underneath the PDL, as soon as this loads, thank you, Thinkorswim, will be, as I mentioned here, and then below that, 28,323. This 30-minute demand I need to get rid of. That was from like last month. We already bounced out of. But my next support is going to be down to 28,323 and then 28,188. So we'll see how much farther it wants to go down. We might gap up tonight when the market opens, when the futures market opens. We'll see. So QQQ is going to be the same, right? Underneath the PDL, I'll be watching puts down my next support. We'll see what happens at 700. We're already kind of getting a little bit of a bounce there already. Again, I'll be watching calls back up to the previous day high if the market wants to give that. ES is obviously the same thing. I want to go over to QQQ real quick just to see if we do have like a daily supply. So kind of, like this previous day high obviously could be another area of a reject. This would be like where the supply would start. But I'm not going to really mark it. I'm not going to really over worry about it. I do want to check the 4 hour. Let's see if when we get a move like this, I always check for supply on like the 4 hour, the 1 hour, the daily, just to see because there's such a big move, but there is nothing there. Okay, so we'll go over to ES. So ES is going to look really similar. We have this really large previous day range. Let's see what the market wants to do when it opens up tonight. Currently bouncing this previous low that I had already. Down here, this 4 hour low here at 73.63. So again, if the market wants to have a move back up after it opens, I'll watch calls up to this next pivot up here at 74.63 to 74.49. So that'll be the first area I'm watching. Again, it could be like a pop and fade situation, or we reclaim it and we move back up to the next pivot, 7,500 up to 75.25. So all these pivots could also be pop and fade spots as well that I'll be watching. Okay. As far as downside goes, if we continue to get more downside, my next support zones on ES underneath 73.54 to 73.45. My next one's going to be down at 73.26. Then we have 7,300 all the way down to 72.64 and so on. These are all just previous day lows that we previously had as well. We'll go over to SPY. Obviously going to look very similar to ES, but we're in that previous day low. So if we break below that previous day low, my next major support is down at 731, and then below that 729 to 727 and 725. And it's honestly just crazy, like seeing the market at these highs, like these areas we're pulling back to, like, oh man, God forbid we pull back to 725 on S&P. Like, just those were just crazy highs 3 months ago, like that we weren't even at yet. It's just insane. So the market needed something like this, and it's still not even that large. You know what I mean? Like if we're talking about like a real major pullback, that would be down here to 698, the previous multi all-time highs here, right? So if the market really wants to give a pullback, that's the spot, all right? So, all right, let's go over to some individuals. Kick things off with Apple. Apple just keeps breaking the all-time high and then failing, like over and over. I talked about it in last week's watch list. Break, fail, break, fail, break, fail, break, fail. Not getting any continuation. So, previous day high, previous day low are on watch. I'll look at puts underneath the previous day low and also 305. As far as upside goes, it's just a break over this 316. Okay. NVIDIA, been pretty weak because of the market. Had a really nice swing on NVIDIA. last week that I closed for some really nice profit. This daily hammer at the previous all-time high. Sold it at 231. It was literally the top. It was could not have been better execution. But now we're all the way back underneath that previous all-time high. So since we are underneath this 212 high, you know, I like NVIDIA for more downside until we get a more major bounce and we reclaim this 212. So reclaim this 212. I'll watch upside again over the previous day high at 214. The downside goes as far as support. If we go to the 4-hour here, my next support is going to be down here at this 198 to 200 area. All right, so we'll see if NVIDIA wants to complete this move. AMD, you can't even day trade AMD right now. The contracts are just too expensive. At the money contracts are insane. They're like $1,400 for one contract, so it's just pointless. But yeah, as far as downside goes, if we continue moving down underneath the previous day low, my next support is going to be this daily gap at 451. Excuse me, that we've already bounced as well, I believe. Let me double check. Go to the daily. Oh no, we haven't. So we still have this gap fill. So underneath the previous day low, we have a gap fill bounce here at 451. This looks solid. But again, can't day trade it. I'm potentially swing trade it, but like I'm not going to day trade contracts that are $1,400 to $2,000 per contract. I don't have the account size for that. So if you can, maybe you watch this gap fill. All right, so that'll be AMD. AMD, crazy. 540. It's like insane. Upside though over the previous day high at 500. Google, man, really interesting spot. Okay, I did play this gap fill last week. Was able to only get about 20% because I entered puts, where was it, Tuesday at close. So like right around here at 364. Filled the gap overnight. This was up 50, 60%. Couldn't sell. And then at open, we ripped, but we held underneath this daily major low at 366. So I stayed in my position, trailed my stop down here where it eventually hit for about 20%. So I just love that. Overnight, Wednesday morning, couldn't sell. Markets closed. Got what I could though. But, you know, we filled the gap on the 4-hour, excuse me. But, you know, we didn't get a ton of continuation. So we have this I'm looking for a re-entry for a gap fill long now. I'm looking at longs at this 4-hour demand. So I want to see Google push down in this 4-hour demand and then look for a long because, you know, that gap fill was really nice. Again, you can't see it on the daily because it hit it overnight. But right here, this 355 daily gap, I'm looking for Google to move back to all-time highs based off this gap fill. And it's really simple, you know. If we fill that 4-hour demand, then I get my position to go long. My stop will be under 355. If we get a daily close or a strong 4-hour close underneath this 355 or even this 353, I believe, this previous all-time high. Where is it? 353, this level right here. Then I'll stop out. Simple as that. All right. Let's go over to Amazon. Amazon week, obviously, as well. You can see it off the bat right here. We do have a nice 4-hour supply at this pivot, so I'll mark that out actually while we're here. 4-hour supply on Amazon at 251. So if we push back up, maybe a pop and fade here at this 4-hour supply in these previous lows. As far as downside goes, I really wanted to see us get to this earnings low. So that's where we're at right now. So it's another interesting spot. When earnings announced, we had this crazy knee-jerk move. Okay, we are back at that earnings low. Are the bulls going to defend it? Or do we break and my next support is going to be down at 241, 240? Now it says gap fill. Let me double check that's not an old gap. We do have a gap here at 240. So maybe you want to fill this gap on Amazon. All right. And then I believe that's it. I mean, we have Tesla, but I rarely show Tesla these days because I don't day trade it. You know, so yeah, I'm not even going to mention it. But so that'll wrap it up. So thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see what the market does after such a big move like this. You know, if we get like a dead cat bounce or something, it's not my favorite type of thing to trade. So maybe give it Monday to really see what goes on. So tomorrow will be a little bit more of a risk off day. Kind of give the market a day to digest what happened. And then see where we set a new range and then go from there. All right. So if you guys, did enjoy, please consider dropping a like, commenting on the video, subscribing to the channel. It means the absolute world to me. Wishing you all a great week inside and outside the market. And I will see you all in the next watch list. Peace.